A few hours ago, Dana White went on Instagram, and that means there's a bunch of big fights, and he actually announced the headliners for the beginning of next year. January will be Dricus du Plessis versus Sean Strickland. February will be Ilia Topuria versus Alexander Volkanovski. And in March will be Sean O'Malley versus Marlon Chito Vera. The January and February ones we have no problem with, but we have a massive problem with the March headliner, which is Marlon Chito Vera versus Sean O'Malley. Marlon Chito Vera is ranked number 6 in the bantamweight division, which is absurd that a number 6 contender is getting a title shot.
On a one-fight win streak.
On a one-fight win streak. It's not like he has like Conor McGregor hype, which is what you would assume, because most of the time, the worst ranked person that might get a title shot would be number 4 against a dominant champion who just wiped out the division. But this guy's a number 6. The champion has not fought anybody ranked number 2 through 5. So there's a bunch of contenders that deserve it far more than Marlon Chito Vera.
Yeah, and the first one that comes to mind for me is Merab Dvalishvili. He beat Petr Yan 50-45. He's on a massive win streak. He's by far the most deserving of a title shot. But in my opinion, maybe this friendship with Aljamain Sterling got in the way.
It had to. It sounds like Merab feels like Aljo has a better shot, because they're like, okay, if Aljo loses, he's going to go to featherweight, or even if he won, he's going to go to featherweight, but he lost. Sounds like Merab thinks, okay, Aljo can probably beat O'Malley, has a better shot against him, so he kind of backed off. So Aljo was the one gunning for that rematch. But for me and you, I believe that we think that Cory Sandhagen is the one that deserves it more, who absolutely destroyed Marlon Chito Vera. It was a split decision because of some corrupt judge that somehow gave Marlon Vera 3 rounds. You could barely even give him 1 round in that fight.
Yeah, and Cory Sandhagen's, he had 2 losses prior to his win streak, with one being a split decision, super close fight versus TJ Dillashaw, and then his fight versus Petr Yan, which I think he looked good in that fight, but Petr Yan was on another level.
Yeah, he actually outlanded him, but Yan just had a different kind of power that he did have.
And then, Cory Sandhagen fought Song Yadong, who is a very, very promising young prospect.
That win aged very well.
He beat him. When I watched it initially, I thought the fight was close, but watching it after that, I think that Cory Sandhagen clearly won. And I mean, you gotta give him credit. That was a fantastically timed elbow that he threw that ended the fight. His next win being against Marlon Chito Vera, destroyed him. Yeah. And he showed that he's a mixed martial artist, and I feel like it also showed a lot of Chito Vera's flaws.
Yeah, and the only reason you can maybe give someone else the title shot other than Cory Sandhagen, because Cory Sandhagen tore his tricep in his last fight against Rob Font, and based on the schedule the UFC is kind of laying out before UFC 300, they kind of have a set schedule of when they want certain fights. And I'm assuming that obviously Charles Oliveira versus Islam Makhachev, or even Justin Gaethje, has to be probably in April. And then if Leon beats Colby, which we both believe he will, they'll have to do a London card sometime late spring, early summer. So everything kind of has to be in a certain time. And if it wasn't Cory, who probably isn't ready, is what my prediction is, because other than that, why would you not give it to Cory? Then it would have to be an Aljo rematch.
Yeah, and Aljamain Sterling is very underrated. He's only lost to the top guys when he's lost. And he's one of the best bantamweights of all time statistically. And if you're not going to give it to Merab or to Cory, then Aljamain Sterling has to be the next guy, especially because they rushed him in so badly for this fight.
Yeah. Now let's talk about Chito Vera, why he got the title shot. It comes down to one thing. He got a fluke win against Sean O'Malley. I know a lot of you are going to be like, oh, he actually knocked out Sean O'Malley. How can you say that? Imagine you were in this scenario. You're beating a guy for 4 rounds. I know this is hypothetical and didn't happen, but think about it this way. You're beating a guy for 4 rounds, and in the 5th round, his toe hits your nerve on the exact right spot, and your leg just dies, and that's why you lose. It's a fluke win. O'Malley versus Vera is not a fight that I really wanted. It's not like Vera's some superstar. That's the only reason you can justify a number 6 guy getting a title shot. And he's not been that impressive. His last win against Pedro Munoz, for him, a number 6 guy to deserve a title shot. I keep iterating it because it's
on a one-fight win streak.
On a one-fight win streak, a number 6 guy.
Like a 4-fight win streak.
You would have to have an incredible win against Pedro Munoz, and it was an uneventful 3-round fight that he won by decision.
If you're a hardcore fan, you want to see the best, most skilled fights with the 2 best fighters fighting for the title, and this is definitely not the case at all. Chito Vera, one of his first big wins was against Rob Font. That fight, although Rob Font looked like a freaking mess because he got cracked a couple times, Rob Font was outstriking him. But Chito Vera somehow was able to find big shots towards the ends of rounds So he was able to steal those rounds. And, maybe Rob Font's chin is kind of suspect.
And Cory Sandhagen's winning against Rob Font was more impressive. I know it was boring, and Rob Font was coming on a short notice, but it was. And
then Chito Vera's next win was against, why am I blanking here? It was Dominic Cruz. In that fight, people only look at that knockout, which it was a crazy knockout. But when you actually look deep into the fights, it was the same as the Rob Font fight. He was getting outstruck, but happened to land a couple hard shots. And in this one, I had him losing the fight, but then he happened to knock out Dominic Cruz. So after that fight, I was like, okay, maybe Chito Vera is, not looking impressive in these fights, but he ends up finding a way to win. And that's important. So then he fought Cory Sandhagen. So like, maybe he can show this again. This would solidify that this guy is a top contender in the bantamweight division, and he got smoked.
So we have to wonder now why he's getting it. It's clear Sean O'Malley is the casuals champion. If you're an actual diehard fan of the sport, you know that Sean O'Malley doesn't really have a personality. He's not that big of a pay-per-view star. The only reason he's considered so popular is because the UFC shoves him in our faces. And that obviously works with the casuals. That's why Israel Adesanya, despite being a shitty person, is so popular. And the casuals don't want to see him fight Merab. They don't want to see him fight Aljo again. They'd rather see him fight Chito Vera because it's just a little bit of a story that they can turn. We're going to make a future video probably this week on why Sean O'Malley's not a pay-per-view star. He's not as cool as everyone makes him out to be. But that's the only reason, And O'Malley, the UFC seems to act like he's a star because they put so much money into the marketing of him that they give him a choice. Would you rather fight one or the other of these great grapplers who will give you a big run for your money, or a guy that won a fluke win against you and it's a striking match that you feel comfortable with?
Yeah, and this is incredibly frustrating. I like to see the best fighters fight the best. I would have liked to see Sean O'Malley fight Cory Sandhagen. I think that would have been a great fight because they're both fantastically skilled strikers, and Cory Sandhagen now showing that he's a very skilled MMA fighter. But no, let's have Chito Vera fight, who gets outstruck by everybody, but happened to find ways to win. And then, like we mentioned before, Pedro Munoz, that was not an impressive win at all. He seemed very reluctant to strike with him, didn't land many clean strikes until the third round, and especially in a title fight, even striking well in the third round, in my opinion, will be too late. I think it'll be a clear Sean O'Malley win whenever that fight happens, but we'll have to see. I mean, Chito Vera does have some knockout power. Maybe he can do it, but Sean O'Malley, there's a reason why he wants this fight. He knows that he's better than him.
And it's a shame because it's headlining a card in March. This is not a headliner that makes you get up in the morning. It really isn't. And obviously with the UFC schedule, I'm assuming that's why. Imagine this was a co-main under maybe Conor McGregor versus Chandler, Oliveira versus Makhachev. Then I'd be like, all right, this is a decent fight. But it's a headliner, an undeserved headliner for the challenger. Not too pleased about it. Has to be the most undeserved title fight. Makes Colby Covington look like the #1 contender because Covington at least sells his fights. Marlon Chito Vera, your casuals don't really know him. And
at least he's high ranked.
Yeah, and he's also high ranked. So it's a damn shame, but we'll have to deal with it. And we just wanted to rant to the camera on why this is complete bullshit. And yeah, that's all I got to say. How about you, Martin?
Yeah, I think it's a disgrace in my opinion. I don't like. I've been saying it for a while to him. I've been like, dude, if they give Chito Vera the title shot, I'm gonna be pissed.
And they did.
And they gave it to him. It's annoying because I don't want the UFC to become a WWE where it's just pure entertainment. I understand that sometimes it's business. An example of that would be Colby Covington, but at least Colby Covington is ranked #2. Chito Vera is ranked #6 on a 1-fight win streak. Makes no sense. There are 3 people that have or deserve a title shot way more than Chito Vera.
It's a shame, but it's the UFC sometimes. Thank you guys for watching. Let us know what you guys think in the comments, whether you believe this is a good matchmaking from the UFC, if you're actually hyped for this fight. Let us know. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys next time.